Delighted to welcome our next guest, Scott Bushkie. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Scott. And we are now in a situation where apparently 60% of CEOs are expecting a recession in the next 6 months. What's going on, man?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to one word: uncertainty. When it's harder to predict the future, it's more difficult to set a winning strategy for these business owners that are tied to these tariffs that go, up again, down, on again, off again, and everything else.
So that's it. That's the only problem. Is there's lack of certainty here?
I think that's one of the biggest items. Yes. Think of if you're buying your first house and you can't lock in the interest rate. It's going to be a variable interest rate for the life of the loan, and in 1 month, you see interest rates go from 2% to 35% to 8% to 5% and so on. Most would probably wait until things settle down a bit, in the housing market. And we're seeing the same things for buying companies, in the M&A world with tariffs. In fact, just to give you a quick story, we've got a client that imports significant amount of goods from China, and that we've just hit the pause button on taking them to market because there's no way they would get full value for their company right now, just due to the uncertainty and just not knowing what their cost of goods was going to be. And on the same time, we've got several service companies that aren't, don't have any uncertainty with China or anything else that are getting significant interest. We just signed a client with a letter of intent for 40% over the benchmark price due to the number of offers that we're able to get. So it really is tied. There's winners and losers in this space right now, but uncertainty seems to be the major driver of why people think there could be some issues with the economy.
Listen, I get that. Issues with the economy, the uncertainty, the markets never like uncertainty. I'm trying to figure out how that translates to we think there's going to be a recession, because the numbers that we're seeing are actually not bad at all.
Yeah, and I think these surveys were done, in mid-April. So it was right after, things started, getting really interesting and they were all hot. And I think people were very emotional at the time. And I think this would be similar to if you asked people what they thought in late March of 2020 after COVID kicked off in the middle of March. I think people at first they kind of feel whipsawed and then, things calm down and we hope. We believe that by, midsummer here, after these, a lot of the tariffs were paused, April 9th. So you're looking at early July. Hopefully we have some good thoughts from the government that things are settled down a little bit and some of these tariffs get worked out. Because I agree that, things are still good. The M&A activity is still solid for small and medium-sized business owners in the United States.
All right. Very interesting stuff for sure. You are the author of Finish Strong, Sell Your Business on Your Terms, which is nice. That's on your way to retirement, I guess, if you sell your business often for a lot of Americans, because, of course, small business is actually the backbone of our economy.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, the U.S. Census Bureau estimates that 20 million people are going to retire between 2025 and 2035. So it's something that, there's a lot of titles that the media picks up, but this largest transfer of wealth is something that not many people have picked up on. And it's really interesting. We just did at Cornerstone a national study at the beginning of this year. And selling your business, we had 750 business owners with $5 million or more in sales between the ages of 45 and 75. When would they like to ideally sell their company or exit out of their company? And 48% said 3 years or less, and 64% said 5 years or less. So it's going to be a very interesting marketplace and very active going forward over the next 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on it. Any indication from the Fed that they might cut interest rates? It would appear that everything would suggest that they should, or is this now personal between Powell and the president?
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. That from that side, but no, the economists that we talk to expect, the most common is 2 rate cuts. So dropping down 50 basis points by the end of the year. It probably won't start until we're hearing August, but potentially 3, but more likely 2 rate cuts going on this year. So if tariffs calm down this summer and you get 2 rate cuts by the end of the year, we expect that 2026 should be a very good year for not only the economy but also a very active M&A market, similar to what we saw in 2021, which is the most active market I've seen in 27 years.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you very much. Appreciate you. You have yourself a good and safe rest of the day. Great weekend as well. And we will get you back. It's certainly interesting times from a business perspective, isn't it, right now, guys?